Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to the Comic High Ground. Okay, so if you've been paying attention, you know that there's been a new animated movie released for DC. That movie, of course, being Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths. Now, this is another addition to the what they call the Tomorrowverse, and the Tomorrowverse is a set of movies that I enjoy them personally. Because they I like the animation, and I kind of like the direction that they were going in the very beginning, because the Tomorrowverse movie started with Superman Man of Tomorrow, and that was the first movie that DC did animated after the Justice League Apocalypse War. And that one was a very dark and violent movie, and to be honest, it wasn't a great way to close that universe out. So that movie concluded with Flash running basically to go back in time to fix things. And I've always just kind of assumed that the Tomorrowverse movies were a continuation of when Flash went back and changed it. So if you follow any of the Justice League or DC animated movies, then you know that way back, like before these movies, in the movies with the Apocalypse, where Apocalypse War concluded that universe started from, I'm gonna say, that movie started from, I want to say, when Flashpoint concluded, because there was a Flashpoint movie first, and then they went into that universe. And that universe had Batman, Son of Batman, and the Superman movies, and I don't think there was a Flash movie, but they had Justice League movies. Like, it was its own little universe, and it had a nice set of movies. And then, like I said, Apocalypse War pretty much concluded it, and then Flash again ran, and now we have the Tomorrowverse movies. And I did all that rambling for a reason, because you cut all the way here to the Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths movie, and this movie very much so follows Flash. It's very much so a Flash movie. The Justice League is there, but they're there insofar as they're basically just supporting cast members. The movie itself it's an entertaining movie, but I'm gonna be honest, it's confusing. I'll say that, because it throws you into the movie immediately from Flash's point of view, of course, and it's confusing because he's waking up right after his accident that made him the Flash, and then he sees this old person talking to him, and then the old person disappears, and then it cuts, and he's at another point in time when he's first meeting Iris and asking her on a date, and then it cuts to another point in time where they're getting ready to get married or something like that. There's a lot of cuts, and it's basically all from Flash's point of view, and you see the Justice League members as you go through these cuts throughout the movie. So you see them when they're forming, you see them when in this mission with Amazo, and he's basically scanning them and stealing their powers, and Lex Luthor is there, and there's just a lot going on. And again, it's constantly cutting, because it cuts to another point where Flash is, for whatever reason, in another universe with the I can't remember the name of the evil Justice League members. They're not the Justice League, but there's like, it's with Ultraman and Superwoman and Owlman and all of them, and he's there. And like I said, it's confusing. I'm gonna be honest, it's confusing, because you're like, what's going on? Now, I'm not going to spoil the movie, because I would like for you all to see it for yourselves. This is just a review. But you just have to kind of truck through it and power through it, because it starts to make sense. In fact, I'm going to be honest, the movie probably doesn't start to really come together and make sense until a little more than halfway through it, because you're just like, what's going on? But once you get to the point where you actually do know what's going on, then it's like, oh, okay, I get it now. This is what we're doing. So from that standpoint, like I said, I would say if you're gonna watch it, just kind of watch it with an open mind, because again, unless you're a Flash fan, if you're a Flash fan, then you're gonna be in Hall heaven anyway, because you get all the Flash you want in this, which I guess makes up for it, because these movies didn't have a lot of Flash in them. He was in the Justice Society movie that came out right after Man of Tomorrow, and then he popped up in a post-credit scene for Batman: The Long Halloween Part 2. Now, speaking of Batman, I would say that he's probably like the second highlight in these movie, because he doesn't have as much to do as Flash, but it's just kind of, you see the things he's doing and how he's reacting to things, and what he's scheming and everything throughout the process of the movie, in terms of how they're dealing with the Amazo situation. And then even when they all come together in that other world or whatever to talk about the crisis, and it's like Batman is kind of following things, and he's one of the key people to help figure out how to fix it. Now Batman is my favorite character in these movies, period. Now, usually Batman is one of my favorite DC characters anyway. I mean, that's not abnormal, right? But it is helped by the fact that, of course, Jensen Ackles is playing Batman, and Jensen Ackles, if you don't know, is Dean Winchester. So Dean Winchester being Batman, if you've seen the meme from the show where he's like, "I'm Batman," and I'll try to find it and put it on here. But that's one of the funniest parts of that show, and Jensen Ackles is a really good actor, and I think that he brings his own unique Batman voice here. I can't speak on too many of the other actors because I don't know too much about them. I don't know anything about the Flash actor. I do know Lois Lane is voiced by Alexandra Daddario, and she does a good job for what little she's given here. But the rest of the actors is kind of, I don't know. Well, Jon Stewart is played by Aldous Hodge, and you saw him in, if you watch Shazam, I mean not Shazam, but Black Adam. If you saw Black Adam, then you saw him play Hawkman. So he did a good job for what he was given. Also, Green Lantern isn't in this movie much, but all in all, like I said, the movie itself is kind of confusing for the first half. But if you stick with it, then it actually becomes it turns into a very good movie, because you'll see everything in its entirety, and when you see everything in its entirety, it makes the movie a lot better, because you see the story that they're telling, you see why they're skipping around to all these different points in time, and you really get a feel for really Flash and what he's going through throughout the movie, because he's confused himself, because he doesn't know what's going on throughout most of it. But when you get to that part, it's like, oh, okay, and you kind of understand why he's confused as well. So again, all in all, the movie is good, and I'm gonna go back and do reviews and probably cover the older Tomorrowverse movies, because these movies they're interesting, they're strange, because they don't have a straight line trajectory. It's like it's Superman in his first adventure as Superman in the Man of Tomorrow movie. Then you skip to Justice Society, which is technically in the past, and then you skip to Batman Long Halloween, which is again present, but you don't know until this movie. You didn't know quite where it fit in the timeline. Now this movie does kind of tell you that, because you have a scene from Long Halloween Part 2 in this movie. But then after that, you skip to the Green Lantern movie, which in that movie you see that the Justice League has already formed. And I remember when I first saw it, I was like, wait, when did the team form? What, are we missing something? And then they go from that to Legion of Superheroes with Supergirl, which again is kind of another leap. It's like, when did Supergirl get here? And then they go from that to Justice League War World, which is the first proper Justice League movie, except it's not really a Justice League movie. It's more of a Trinity movie. And that movie received a lot of flack. I'll review it at some point. But it received a lot of flack because, to be honest, it's not a Justice League movie. And it's barely a Trinity movie, because Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman don't even know who they are in the movie for like 90% of it. So that was a strange movie. And then that movie leads into this movie. So I'm not sure what it is that they were thinking when they decided to do this universe of movies. And to be honest, I really feel like they haven't done it justice, because they had a good cast, and they had a very likable version of Batman and Superman. And heck, Wonder Woman didn't pop up until War World, so Wonder Woman just popped up last year. So it's strange the way they decided to go about making these movies. I like them, but I really wish they had done a more, I guess, basic, streamlined, like Batman 1, Batman 2, Batman 3, Superman 1, Superman 2, Flash 1, Green Lantern 1, Green Lantern 2, leading into the Justice League movies like they've done in the past, because that made things more streamlined and made things easier to understand, and it made things more cohesive. And the way they've done it now, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of all over the place, and it's not that organized, and it's a shame because, like I said, you have these actors, these pretty well known actors, playing these characters, and it's kind of gonna go over a lot of people's heads because they're just jumping around to different points in time, and it just doesn't do them justice. But in any case, this is only part one of Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's supposed to be 3 parts, I believe. They've already got the trailer out for part 2, and it looks like it's a bit more, I guess, understandable. It looks like it might be a bit more easy to watch than this movie, but again, we've only seen like a teaser. So when that comes out, I'll be sure to review it. But in any case, like I said, just if you're interested in Justice League and DC and everything, then check this movie out, because it's a good watch after you actually get through it. So hit that like button, please. Drop a comment to let me know if you have seen the movie. Let me know what you thought. Were you confused by the Flash stuff, or were you pretty much like, okay, yeah, I'm good? And subscribe for more. And remember, we have the high ground. Catch you later.